I did want to ask you guys about Buzelis, because obviously he's played well, better as of late, and he's kind of the hot topic for a lot of draft scouts, analysts, whatever, media scouts, whatever. And he seems like he's kind of not rising, but re-rising. He had a little bit of a dip, and then he's coming back up again. So, wanted to get your thoughts on him, just because I'm still not the biggest Buzelis fan. However, I don't hate him, just because it kind of goes back to Corey when we did our pod on him. Something that I remember you saying that night that's really important is worst case scenario, he's really tall and he's going to shoot the ball well. And so that's kind of where my brain continues to go, because there are certain things that I watch. I'm like, I don't love that. And then I'll watch him like, oh, he's still really tall, can shoot it well. Oh, wait, that was a nice drive. Wow. Oh, he kind of got physical there. Nice defense. So there are like little spurts here and there, but I can't find myself being like the biggest fan of his game yet. So did want to ask you guys and how you felt. Maybe we can go Metcalf first, how you've been feeling about Buzelis as of late.
Encouraged. And coming into, I think I was the lowest on him of the No Ceilings crew coming into the season, where he was just outside my lottery. I thought a lot of the shooting stuff got really overblown in high school, where the bulk of it was standstill stuff or him just kind of catching at the elbow and shooting over a 6 foot tall defender. I never have really seen the self-creation stuff. As I say that, he's, busting out a little hezzy and gets the scoop finish. So, great timing there. But I don't really see him being able to consistently create against NBA guys. Where I've been really encouraged is actually on the defensive end. It's still not great, but I think his fundamentals and his footwork and his willingness to kind of get down in a defensive stance has been really good. I think his help side shot blocking has been really good. It's just, I think he's really limited athletically. I don't think he has great foot speed. The explosiveness is good when it's not in traffic, but you throw a couple of guys in the lane, and I think he kind of becomes purely a below the rim finisher, except for the occasional, punishing guys for late rotations. He's in my top 10. I'm intrigued, kind of like you guys have said. Worst case scenario, he's 6'9", 6'10", and can be a really, really high level spot up shooter. So I think at minimum, top 10 is kind of the baseline for him.
Yeah, I never really panicked with the shot when he wasn't hitting them early in the year, because the shot looks good.
Yeah.
And, these guys are adjusting to that further 3-point line. I think if there's, certainly some adjustments to the G League experience, I think that's probably one of the tougher ones, just having to shoot from that further line. I think there are probably benefits because of how loose and sloppy it is. It's probably a little easier to put up volume numbers without a leash, but I was never too low on that when he was missing shots, but I'm also not like super high and thinking that he's going to be like, one of the better shooters in the league either. I think he's just like, he's a good shooter. I shout out to everybody watching in the chat, and Nick's The Streets Are Buzzing says, all aboard the Furphy train. Now, we'll touch on him later, but I think it makes a pretty interesting argument on a guy who probably does a lot of similar things in the role at the next level. So like, I know that Matas is, having a little bit of a resurgence, but like, he's not the only tall, foreign. I mean, he was born in America, but Lithuania stand up shooter who, is kind of like an ancillary guy with a little bit of bounce. But I think his rise is interesting, because it's like, all right, he's hitting a few more threes, but ultimately, I mean, the playmaking feel is still kind of the same as it was in high school, where like he's capable of making some pretty reads, but like the decision making and processing still is just okay at best, right? And the physicality is something I think he's probably always going to deal with. While he has a good frame, like I just saw Cooper Flagg the other day in person, and like my dude's frame is something you're never going to have to question. He's got these big, strong, just Tatum shoulders, and like, he's younger than Buzelis is. And it's going to take a lot of work and time. So But it's this in this draft. I don't know. Maybe you want a poor man's Franz type of guy, and who's going to be able to be switchable. And I think that's why his stock is kind of trending up, as everybody else is kind of just having a blah season. And even somebody like Dillingham, who's hit the 6th spot, right? Like, this is somebody who you still have to question if he's even going to be capable of being not like an even defender, like how much he's going to take off the table on that end in the long term. So at the very least, you can be like, well, maybe Matas is switchable and big, and you're not going to be able to like target him in the playoffs by the time he actually is on a team and getting minutes that's capable of getting there.
If I can really quickly, Corey, with Matas, I just wanted to go back to the point that Metcalf made about him on defense. Sometimes watching him get into a stance, it almost feels like they're like really coaching that into him. So he's like really pushing himself to get into a stance. But sometimes like it looks so forced that it actually makes him like less mobile laterally, because he's like really struggling to get into that stance. And also, Corey, the last point that you made about Dillingham, like watching when they played against Gonzaga, like he just wasn't in the game at the end. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, there it is, right? There are still some concerns with him. So, yeah.